Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely, let's dive in.
Today, we're tackling Jose Silva's Mind Control Method. We've got his book right here, ready to unpack all his secrets to unlocking your mind's potential.
It's a fascinating read, full of bold claims about what the mind can achieve.
He doesn't just stop at meditation and visualization, though those are definitely key parts.
Right, he takes it a step further, suggesting we can influence our physical well-being and even external events just with our thoughts.
Exactly. So, to start, Silva introduces this idea of levels of mind.
Beta, our everyday state, and alpha, where things get really interesting.
He describes alpha as this relaxed alertness where your mind is primed for pretty much anything, learning, problem solving, you name it.
It's like shifting your brain into a higher gear.
I like that analogy. Most of us are stuck cruising in beta, unaware of what we're truly capable of.
And Silva argues that accessing alpha is the key to unlocking that potential.
But how do we get there?
Silva says it's simpler than you might think. Close your eyes, look upward behind your eyelids at a 20-degree angle, and visualize.
Visualization is huge in the Silva method.
He uses the example of biting into a lemon, and I mean really going for it.
Engaging all your senses, the texture, the sour taste, everything.
It might seem kind of random, but he says it proves how powerful your mind is, that it can create a physical response just from imagining.
And this technique, according to Silva, can be applied to way more than just salivating over imaginary lemons.
He believes it can help you improve your memory, break bad habits, you name it.
It's like giving your subconscious mind a detailed set of instructions instead of just wishing for things to happen.
Exactly. And speaking of setting intentions, Silva emphasizes the importance of what he calls mental house cleaning.
Right, because those negative thoughts can really drag you down.
He's not saying to pretend everything is perfect, but to become aware of those negative patterns and try to reframe them in a more positive light.
It's about recognizing those thoughts and consciously choosing to shift your perspective.
Exactly. He even shares a story about a soldier who used just the basic meditation and affirmation techniques from the method while he was stationed in Indochina.
What happened?
The soldier claimed to have experienced incredible benefits, even amidst such a chaotic and stressful environment.
It really highlights how even small, consistent practices can make a difference, especially during tough times.
Absolutely. And speaking of practical techniques, the book dives into some pretty interesting memory enhancement exercises.
Oh yeah, like that three fingers technique. It sounds almost like a magic trick.
You associate a piece of information with the feeling of touching your thumb, index, and middle fingers together, creating this instant recall trigger.
It's like creating a mental shortcut.
And Silva gives a great example of a teacher who used this technique to help her fourth-grade students learn spelling and multiplication tables much faster.
Imagine if we could all access information that easily. Talk about a game changer.
Right. And it gets even more interesting. Have you heard of speed learning?
I feel like I'm about to unlock a superpower with
Yeah.
a name like that.
Basically, you listen to recordings of study material while you're in that alpha state we talked about.
So your brain is super receptive and can absorb the information more effectively.
Exactly. Silva suggests even exchanging recordings with a study buddy to maximize your time and get used to different voices.
That's actually a really clever idea.
And it's not just theory. He shares a story of a college student who used speed learning to memorize his taxi routes.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, he could remember addresses he hadn't visited in years.
No, that's impressive. It really shows how you can integrate these techniques into everyday life.
Right. It's about training your mind to work for you, not against you.
And speaking of training your mind, let's talk about dreams.
Because who doesn't love a good dream discussion?
Silva believes we can use our dreams for problem solving with a technique he calls dream control.
Instead of just analyzing random dreams, he says we can actually program them to address specific issues.
So we're talking about actively engaging your subconscious to work on solutions while you sleep.
Precisely. And he lays out 3 steps.
First, you need to remember your dreams. Then, you program them to tackle a specific problem.
And finally, you interpret the dream content for potential solutions.
He makes it sound so straightforward. Does he back it up with any examples?
Oh, absolutely. He even claims that a dream helped him win the lottery.
Okay, now that's just showing off.
But he's clear that it's not about chasing money. The real prize is tapping into the power of your own mind.
I like that perspective. Imagine having this built-in system for finding creative solutions while you sleep.
Right, like a personal brainstorming session every night.
So how do we tap into this dream power? What's the secret?
Silva stresses consistency and intention. He even provides specific affirmations to use during meditation.
Like what?
He recommends repeating, I want to remember a dream. I will remember a dream. Simple, but powerful.
It's amazing how these seemingly small practices can have such a profound impact.
And that's really what the Silva method is all about, empowering individuals to tap into their hidden potential and create positive change in their lives.
We've covered a lot of ground here. Meditation, visualization, memory techniques, even dream control. Where do we go from here?
Buckle up, because next we're diving into the mind-body connection and exploring whether our thoughts can actually influence our physical health.
This is where things get really interesting. Stay tuned as we explore the power of the mind to heal and transform, ready to dive into the mind-body connection.
Let's do it. This is where things get really wild.
Silva doesn't hold back, claiming our minds can directly influence our physical health.
He goes all in on this concept right from the start.
Like with that story about the woman who stopped her own bleeding with just her mind.
Miles from any medical help, it's a pretty dramatic example.
Definitely makes you wonder what we're truly capable of.
And it's not just anecdotes, he brings in some outside support too.
Yeah, he mentions Dr. O. Carl Simonton, a cancer specialist who used visualization in his treatments.
Simonton was a big deal, in charge of radiation therapy at a major Air Force base.
Not exactly a fringe figure.
Exactly. He even presented his findings at one of Silva's mind control conventions.
Sounds like he was onto something big.
He was fascinated by spontaneous remission in cancer patients.
Those cases where people just make these incredible recoveries against all odds.
Right. And he noticed that many of those patients shared a common trait.
What's that?
They were often positive, optimistic, determined their mindset was different.
So he starts to see a link between mental state and healing.
Exactly. It's not just about visualizing healthy cells fighting off disease, though that's part of it.
It's about cultivating this overall sense of hope and resilience.
Which might give the body's natural healing abilities a boost.
It all ties back to Silva's emphasis on mental house cleaning, getting rid of negativity.
Creating a more fertile ground, so to speak, for healing to occur.
And Simonton's wife, who also worked with cancer patients, she took this even further.
She gave this powerful speech at the convention
about how visualizing cancer cells as weak and confused could empower patients.
Instead of seeing this big, scary enemy, they could reframe it.
It's like changing the narrative in your mind, shifting from fear to a sense of control.
Exactly. It's amazing how even our perception of something microscopic could have a real impact.
Okay, so we've got anecdotes, we've got some scientific backing, but I gotta ask,
What's that?
does Silva offer any real-world examples, beyond these theories?
He tries to. The book is full of stories about people using the Silva method for all sorts of things.
Like what? Give me some highlights.
Some are more everyday stuff, a city planner finding lost memories, a businessman landing a new job.
Okay, those are cool, but I was hoping for something a little more mind-blowing.
Well, how about ESP? Silva claims his method can help develop extrasensory perception.
Wait, hold on. Now we're talking about reading minds and seeing the future.
He even talks about training students to project their awareness outside their bodies and diagnose illnesses in others remotely.
Okay, that's definitely next level. How does he even begin to train people to do that?
He describes this technique called caseworking, where students scan the bodies of strangers looking for signs of illness.
So they're basically playing psychic detective.
Pretty much. They're encouraged to trust their intuition, even if the information seems random or doesn't make sense logically.
But how do they know if they're actually picking up on something real?
That's where things get a little fuzzy. Silva relies a lot on anecdotal evidence.
Meaning?
He shares stories of students accurately diagnosing illnesses in people they've never met.
So more believe it or not kind of stuff.
Pretty much. He admits these abilities aren't guaranteed, but those who develop them supposedly experience this incredible spiritual high.
A life-changing experience.
Exactly. But even with the ESP stuff, he stresses ethical use.
Using these powers for good, not for evil.
Precisely. It's about helping others and improving yourself, not manipulating or exploiting anyone.
Makes sense. So we've covered a lot: meditation, visualization, memory tricks, dream control, even ESP.
It's been quite the journey. But I'm curious, what does Silva say about the long game?
What do you mean?
Like, what happens after you learn these techniques? Does the excitement wear off?
That's a good question.
He acknowledges that some people might lose interest over time.
Life gets in the way. Old habits creep back in.
Right, but he believes that once you've integrated the benefits of mind control, they're always there.
Like a mental muscle you can flex whenever you need it.
Exactly. Especially during times of stress or when you're facing a challenge.
So it's not about constantly using every technique, but having them in your back pocket.
Precisely. But for those who want to go all in, to really master the method,
What does he suggest?
he says it goes beyond just doing the exercises correctly.
It's about a deeper shift.
Exactly. Transforming your mindset, your whole perception of yourself and the world.
So how do you achieve that?
He calls it reaching a state of firm certainty. It's about no longer doubting your ability to influence reality. It's like you're no longer just hoping for things to change, but truly believing you have a hand in shaping your own reality.
That's a powerful concept.
But it begs the question, how do you actually reach that level of certainty? Does Silva offer a roadmap?
He's a bit vague on the specifics, but he does drop some interesting hints along the way.
He suggests that even seemingly small experiences, the kind we might easily overlook, can lead to big shifts in how we see ourselves.
Especially those moments that challenge our preconceived notions of what's possible.
Exactly. Those aha moments where you catch a glimpse of your own potential and realize you're capable of more than you thought.
It's like those limitations we've been carrying around were never really real.
He tells this great story about a graduate who's trying to recall a specific memory during meditation.
And he just can't access it, no matter how hard he tries.
Exactly. But then he realizes that he never actually needed that information in the first place.
It's like the universe was giving him a gentle nudge saying, hey, you're focused on the wrong things here.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how mind control, even when it doesn't go as planned, can lead to a deeper self-awareness.
It's about learning to trust the process, even when it takes unexpected turns.
And as we start to see ourselves differently, our whole perception of the world can shift too.
It's like we're constantly evolving, expanding our understanding of what's possible.
And with that expansion comes a greater sense of connection, not just to ourselves, but to something bigger.
It's a journey of self-discovery that has the potential to ripple outwards, creating positive change in the world around us.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground with the Silva Mind Control Method, meditation, visualization, memory techniques, dream control, even ESP.
We've explored Silva's claims about the mind-body connection, the potential for influencing physical health, and his vision of achieving that firm certainty. It's a method that definitely pushes the boundaries of conventional thinking.
It challenges us to reconsider what we believe about our own minds and the nature of reality itself.
While some of Silva's claims might seem out there, there's no denying the impact his work has had on the field of self-improvement.
Many of his techniques, like visualization and positive self-talk, are now widely recognized as valuable tools for personal growth.
It's a fascinating blend of ancient wisdom and modern techniques, a system that continues to intrigue and inspire decades later.
And that's a testament to Silva's ability to tap into something universal, something that resonates with people from all walks of life.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's fitting to leave our listeners with a question that Silva himself posed.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the question?
At what point does a person know he has gotten out of mind control everything there is to get?
That's a deep one. How does Silva answer that?
He says, when you realize what enormous powers we were all born with, when you see in your own experience that these powers can only be used constructively, you come to a firm certainty that God is in us all.
It's a powerful statement that goes beyond the specific techniques and speaks to something much larger.
It's about recognizing the incredible potential that resides within each of us and using that potential to create positive change.
Not just for ourselves, but for the world around us.
Exactly. So, dear listener, as you resurface from this deep dive into the Silva Mind Control Method, I encourage you to reflect on Silva's words and consider, what enormous powers lie dormant within your own mind? And how might you use those powers constructively to shape a better future for yourself and the world? Until next time, keep diving deep.